Hey there, demons. My name is Philip Ta, and I'm the current Endless Champion, along with being the #1 Animus holder. Been playing the game for about 2 years now, and wanted to introduce you guys to some soft skills here on how to be a good team player. Now, how does one become a good team player exactly? Well, I came up with this acronym here, that good team players wear their capes. Now, if you were to ignore all the guides on my channel and only listen to this one and followed it religiously, you would be welcomed on any team more so if endless mode is so long, right? That engaging with your fellow players and just having a fun time matters just as much as their understanding of the mechanics. Now, what do I mean by wearing your cape, right? So, C stands for being coachable. A stands for action economy. P stands for plays all classes. And E stands for ego check. Now, let's kind of dive in more to each one. So, C, coachable. Remember, you are both coaches, right? Being coachable means engaging in discussion and not reacting defensively to any point. This basically creates a win-win in our understanding of the game. You kind of take the emotion out of the discussion and just look at the logic. In endless mode, the team truly does have to create something greater than the sum of their parts. And we often, this idea, by the way, comes from debate, the debate model. The book is called Good Arguments, and it puts out a point where we often see arguments as a bad thing, right? But arguments can be a productive vehicle that is not a command from an authority figure. Yet, remember, you are both coaches, debating their points with logical evidence in order to come to a further understanding of the topic. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's kind of look at it through the lens of the RISA model. That's RISA model, RISA model. Though in summary, the RISA model is a lens to see which point to engage on by asking, like, pretend you present me a situation, right? And I would ask myself, is this point real? Is the point important? Is it kind of too subjective where we can't really find a conclusion from it? And are we aligned, right? So when here's an example of this, of being able to reach coach level discussions using the RISA model. So a teammate of yours is so passionate about fixing the game with new mechanics, weapons, and ideas, right? They're pitching you, like they're pitching you for like the whole 20 minutes until you get to the Archons. However, they, you suggest them to use the official Discord channel, the features requests, and insist on discussing these changes with you. Mind you, you're not, your name isn't E McNeill. You're not a game developer, and they don't really have the hard skills to give the assets to anybody to implement, right? So how does the RISA model apply to this situation? So you ask yourself, is it real? So no, we're not game developers, and the teammate refuses to engage using their official channels. Just like you, we're both players, right? We cannot influence these changes directly. Okay, so that would go, is this important? Now, mind you, we're going to endless mode, and it's not really in our team's immediate purview or objectives. It's not really relevant. Now, their passion is very valued, right? And that is to be celebrated. However, the discussions that they're using that passion on is unactionable, and the game changes that they're proposing distracts from our shared, mind you, it's a one-channel feed for the voice channel, right? So what you say probably should have a little more thought behind it instead of just kind of ranting. For example, I can't say, hey, I need help over here if you're talking about swords, So, and then S, right? Is it subjective? Yes, in this regard, what the teammate is proposing is quite subjective. The teammate's insistence on discussing these ideas with non-developers And they're also kind of pushing their personal preferences. These are not concrete, actionable debates. There's nothing to really grab onto here. It's more about their feelings about the game. Now, if they're just venting, right? You have to kind of ask yourself if they're asking for like validation, or are they asking for like discussion? And finding that balance is harder to do in real time, though over time you'll understand how to do it pre-reactively or reflexively, right? A would stand for, are we aligned? Now, do we both want the same thing out of this discussion, right? That's taking the one channel feed of our voice chat. And I gotta say, no, we are not aligned. Their goal is to kind of voice their ideas to an audience. They're kind of just pitching stuff. And my goal in this case is typically to be more productive and contributing to the team's success, right? These misaligned objectives make the conversations really unproductive and allows you to understand like another example of like being aligned or not is simply, well, is this person just trying to hurt me? Versus having a productive conversation? Are they trying to compete with me? These are things that people might not be aligned with. And even if you are aligned with being, like wanting to hurt each other, right? That doesn't make it worth the conversation still. Is it worth like you guys being aligned to create this conversation? It's a very vulnerable thing to discuss openly with someone. So again, you ask yourself, well, is what the point that they're bringing up, is the premise in which the topic, like the premise of their conversation, is it real? Is the premise important? Is their premise subjective? And are we aligned in terms of what we want out of this conversation? So that's the RISA model, right? And that's how you can have kind of coach level conversations. In Buddhism, this is called mindful speech. They further expand onto it in Buddhism by being, is this honest? Is this helpful? Is it kind? That's a little, for me, the recent model has been more successful in terms of, speech filtering. So I'm presenting you guys this idea for, how to be a better teammate. So, now we go to A. So remember, it's C.A.P.E. It's C.A.P.E. So C, we just covered Coachable. A, we're going to cover action economy. And action economy in terms of Dungeons and Dragons 5e, it's basically the side with more actions wins, right? Basically, when you have one boss in front of 5 intrepid adventurers, right? Because the 5 adventurers have, you have your action, your bonus action typically. And so you're looking at each of the adventurers having 2 actions, so that's 10 actions. But the boss, we'll just, for this example, just say has 2 actions themselves. So action economy is saying whoever has more of this action, whoever has more actions wins the game. And 10 is a higher number than 2, right? So the adventurers will logically win that encounter. Now, how does this translate to IRONSTRIKE? Action economy, for example. So the commander is a very good example, actually, of action economy, because the commander has a skill called Sturdy. And Sturdy, what it does is it takes the first 30 damage, it lets that pass on all the enemies on the map, actually, or the plane. And then everything past that 30 damage is reduced by 80%, at least for my primary data. So what that means is spreading out your actions on everything that has Sturdy on it would not be advisable, because you're taking like almost twice as long just to kill the same thing, when a good action economy would mean everybody focuses on the commander first. Now, what does this look like, right? So as you see here in example 1 here, I'm a fighter here, and I'm looking at all the enemies that just spawned in, right? This is the most the most popular way everybody dies, which is encounter 11. And encounter 11 kind of looks like this with a 4-party group, which is very scary when you look at it, right? It's all the plane 3 and all the plane 4 mini bosses put together, spawning in. This is where, the majority of the players die. Unalive themselves. Anyways, so, you basically serving everybody, and you want to find the commander first. So, based on the situation, whatever. In this example, we're looking for the commander first because the commander always spawns with these bosses, mini bosses. So, a good example of action economy here would be, you see how this other fighter and I jump onto the commander because we identify that we're not going to get much done unless we destroy this commander first. Easy. Now, and these details are what kind of, and you can see here, this person's level 29. It goes to show, these are the little details that kind of more veteran coaches will be able to identify, because you can easily start to see the details in someone's play in terms of their action economy. And that's how you can pick of like, oh, this person's good. They know what they're doing mechanically, right? A example of bad action economy here is, so you see this caster in the back left here. They are attacking they're attacking the shaman, and I forgot what this person's name. I think the vizier. They are casting lightning bolt. Now, mind you, they cast levitate here, and they're about to cast lightning bolt on these enemies that have a ranged preference for one. So projectiles are easily dodgeable from the shaman or the vizier. Visor. You can easily just move left and right. True, they have seeking, but this person additionally even has a sorcerer staff, right? Easy to dodge, easy to block. And yet they're still casting lightning bolt, and it looks like they have a ruby gem here, in order to attempt to destroy one. But whatever damage they're about to output, so level 5 lightning is 2200, right? It's going to be reduced by 80%. And no matter what you do, you see how this commander here they're almost dead. That lightning bolt, if they had just looked a little more to the right, they can see, or just see that everything has 30 on it, they would be able to help us out, because as you see here, I'm tapped out. I don't have any more iron strikes left. I'm still building that much. My the other fighter here kind of backed off because he was getting hit a lot in the back. And so now it's just me. And now you have a group of 4 people spreading out all their actions, and it's not efficient. It's not optimal. And everyone is suffering. It's a lose for everybody. When all we had to do was everybody hit the commander first, and then we would have just gone about our day. But because in this example, you're seeing me do 4 times the work essentially, it's not a good day. And this is where good players shine. Good coaches shine. In order to teach other people, we have to kind of lead by example, and this is how you identify it, right? So, we're now going to go to P. So we, C.A.P.E, right? C was coachable. A was action economy. P is play every class. Please, 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 please. Because in order to even identify action economy, you have to be able to identify or empathize with each class. And what this looks like is, like for example, the fighters, right? How many times have you as a ranger or a caster just seen the fighter just off in La La Land doing their own thing, tunnel visioning on their own enemy, not noticing that the ranger doesn't really have much agility yet, and the caster doesn't really have a way to defend themselves. And yet, they're the ones in the backline, right? The caster's using blessings on the fighter, but it leaves them vulnerable, and that's not a win-win situation. So when I say this, like if you main ranger, whatever, but if you play fighter, you'll understand that like, oh, I know what it's like to play ranger. I know that if like the fighters that I'm with, they don't really protect me. At least before like endless 20, right? Because by endless 20 onwards, it's just it's just too chaotic, and everyone is helping themselves and each other at the same time. But that's a different thing. The majority of the player base are not getting past Endless 11. And so this all applies. So, hey, I'm a ranger. Oh, I wish my fighters would protect me more. So you play fighter. And because you have that empathy with rangers, you're able to go, oh, let me go protect my ranger a little more because a heavy just went past me, right? That's kind of what playing every class does for a good team player. Another example of that would be like maybe you main ranger, and every ranger always they typically complain about the jester mini boss. And the jester mini boss, that's the one with the the clown hat, and it has a very high seeking rate on the projectiles. And because you play so much ranger, you understand, hey, you could have all the agility in the world, but those projectile seeking missiles, they are very high percentage wise. So you as a fighter with that empathy know to attack the jester first, even though there's like a healer in the background, there's maybe mages in the background. You know that helping your ranger kill the jester will be more beneficial because you play ranger, right? So what does this look like as a ranger though? So pretend like you main fighter, or actually pretend like you main caster, and the ranger is constantly asking for a missile shield. Now, because you main caster so much, you understand that every ranger is typically blaming you for not having missile shield on them. However, because you know this information from playing caster so much, you know to just have safe positioning and getting on terrain that your enemies can't get to, and kind of, you're outputting damage still. However, you are willing to wait the 15 seconds or so for a missile shield to come off a cooldown, because of course the caster has to cast missile shield on themselves first, because they can't cast it on you if they are, if they're a ghost. So basically, this type of empathy is helping you rationalize your positioning as a ranger and why you shouldn't mix maybe importance with difficulty. So what does this look like if, say you're you main ranger again and you're playing caster? You understand that the ranger, they love kind of using all their arrows as soon as they can, or maybe they have blast away, right? So a good caster is able to identify with that and use their curses such as vulnerability, rust, all that after their blessings, right? And because of that, that time window with burst fire and using your curses align. Thus, when they use their burst fire, they are now dealing way more damage, crazy amounts of damage, because that's like, what is that, 750%? So it's 650 base, regardless, 650% on whatever their, whatever they have going on, right? That's a lot. Who says no to doing like over 6 times their amount of damage? No one. And so, if you play a lot of ranger, and then you're just kind of you're dabbling in caster, you're able to identify that. And additionally, if you play fighter, right, and you're playing caster for a bit, you understand when your fighter is really struggling with their health or heavy blocking. And so that empathy goes a long way. So you know to cast Iron Skin on yourself first sometimes, and then you know to cast the Iron Skin right away on the fighter because they're kind of struggling based on their weapon and all this. They're homogenous, right? So the game is a roguelike. Mains are, that's a different conversation. But playing all the classes makes you a better player at whatever you quote unquote main as, right? And over time, you'll be able to identify these more coach level plays if you play all the classes. Now, you don't have to main all the classes. You can just dabble in the other ones, right? Just to get an understanding on how to better help them, empathize with them. And so when you do that, you become a better player overall, or a good team player. So we just went over C, which is coachable, A, action economy, P, play every class, right? All right. So finally, E, ego check. So spirit over self. You want to put the team before you. What this basically looks like is you're kind of getting additional perspectives from people. You're disassociating from your emotions, and you're just kind of objectively looking and evaluating your outcomes, right? So, for example, this concept comes from Pokemon, where one of their first rules on on the very first pages on the TCG is the spirit of the game. And know that the spirit of the game is also more important than the game itself. Making the experience about yourself rather than everyone's enjoyment, you're just kind of in the wrong community here. IRONSTRIKE is a very healthy community, and to have someone come into that, here are kind of like red flags of how you identify that. So a red flag of someone that's kind of putting their ego in front of the team is like they phase into the ground while everyone else is doing all the work. They're idling in Haven while their team is just like waiting the beacon. They're picking out like colors. You have to leave in like 5 minutes, but they decide to be the host, or they have low battery, or they're hosting and they know they have not the best internet to be hosting on, and that really impacts the other teammates, especially fighters, right? Because we play every class, so we know how they feel under lag. Or even worse, they're dying repeatedly and they're still glazing themselves. I heard that term recently, glazing, yes. So basically, a way to, again, playing every class will make you understand who really is the glazist, the glazer of your group, And just remember that when you are putting your ego in front of the group, the mission, right? Remember that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. You could be the best player in the world, but if you can't really cohesively work with people, that doesn't make you the best in the world, right? And for all the people that are kind of going through these things with certain people in the community, understand that in order to protect yourself, you have to kind of set boundaries. So you can like vote kick, you can mute them. Muting them is pretty easy. Or you can leave when needed, because know that the population has dramatically increased recently. So the game is full of wonderful people. You don't have to wait for full lobbies anymore. This is my little quote of, you could take a horse to water, but it's a lot of work to hold down a drowning horse, right? It's a lot of lactic acid buildup. It's a lot of, it's a lot of core body strength. Yeah, and horses are very strong. Don't hold down the horse to drown it. It's just, so it could drink the water. Anyways, now with all this in mind, right? So we have, again, C, the acronym is C.A.P.E, right? It's, are you coachable? Do you know your action economy? Do you play every class? And are you checking your ego, right? So, with all this in mind, to conclude, remember to tailor your coaching to understand their goals, right? Before offering advice, it's really crucial to identify a player's premise, like kind of where they're coming from. And if they're aiming for like more casual enjoyment, are they seeking to break world records? Your coaching should adapt to their individual journey, right? Whether it's minimizing deaths, cause it's not really fun to just watch people play the game, when you're just a ghost. Or are they just trying to optimize every action, like min-max it, and good for them. So directing only one way of play, we risk as a community to alienating those with different priorities. And identifying that as a coach identifying someone's premise is very, very important. I'm gonna end you guys with the a quote from E McNeill here. To avoid the burden of optimal play, he said. I can't do E McNeill's voice. It's too good. So I'll just do it in mine. One of the most useful design concepts I know is the burden of optimal play. Boop. If you set a goal before players, example, get the longest possible endless run, then they are incentivized to use the most effective strategy to achieve that. If the optimal strategy is not fun, then players have to choose between winning and enjoying themselves, which isn't very good. And all that is to say, before offering advice, it is crucial to identify the player's premise. Thank you very much. Please join us on the Discord, and yeah.